Hello, shortcuts. This is video 2 for Wednesday, September 20th. Price list will go out at 9 p.m. on Wednesday, as always. This list is almost exclusively classic rock. So, let's delve into it. First things first, what's the lead-off record? Well, there are two that it could have been, but I decided to go with this. A record that I've never had before. This is Exit Stage Left, the Japanese press of the early 80s Rush 2LP live album on hard cardboard gatefold. I do love this picture of the double-headed bass, double bass and the double-headed guitar, Neil Peart's drum kit, which, by the way, gets a hell of a workout through this record, particularly track 3, YVZ, which features a 3 or 4 minute Neil Peart extravaganza. Now, this is Rush's second live record after, what was it? The first one was All the World's a Stage, which was in 76. So this one documents that run of records that Rush released from kind of 77 to 81, including records like Hemispheres, and maybe their most successful record, Moving Pictures. So this features a bunch of tunes from those records, the likes of The Spirit of Radio, Xanadu, Passage to Bangkok, Tom Sawyer, of course, and some instrumentals as well. And so it's the full Rush experience. So I'm not a massive Rush fan. So I listened to the first LP, not both, earlier today, and I thought it was an extraordinary live performance, but I've been reading now that they did use some digital trickery to kind of tidy things up. It feels spectacularly clean, and the singles that I am aware of, I often I was closing my eyes going, that could be the studio version. So clearly these guys were extraordinary musicians, and the craft and quality that goes into the music is completely apparent. Very odd sleeve, but I do love the quality, the Japanese attached to these things. So it's a very, very beautiful thing. I just think there's somebody out there who will love this a lot more than me. So the kickoff record, Exit Stage Left by the mighty Rush. The second record almost usurped Rush as my kickoff for this list. Not because it's as good a record, but because it is just an almighty package that is just kind of mad. So the first thing I'm going to show you is the poster that comes with it, and see if you can guess what this record is from the poster. There you have it. That's the poster. Some clues in there. This record is produced by Todd Rundgren. It is this band's fifth record. I think easily their most successful. It is Grand Funk's We're an American Band. So first thing you can notice is the gold foil that surrounds this record. This is the Japanese first press. It's a gatefold, albeit an unusual gatefold, because inside you get that poster, as well as some other details. So poster, foil, okay. What else do you get? Well, you also get this. book that comes with it, which is pictures and stories and just various things. Stories about the band. Brilliant. But this, the pièce de résistance. Forgive my terrible pronunciation. The first press is on gold translucent vinyl, which was obviously to play on the gold foil that is the sleeve. Now, I have a copy of this. It's on my shelf because this record kind of represents a turning point for Grand Funk, or Grand Funk Railroad as they were. It is the first time that they produce anything that has any sonic clarity. Before this, they were kind of muggy and a bit clumsy to my ears. But Todd Rundgren, just a genius in the studio, just drives this band to a place where they rock. It's got grooves. It kind of lives up to the name. Probably for the first and only time with respect to this band. And it's an extraordinary package. The rather wonderful We're an American Band by Grand Funk. Next up, we have a soundtrack record. This is the original motion picture soundtrack to Platoon, with the subtitle Platoon and Songs from the Era. So, what do you get with this? Well, of course you get the strings for Adagio, Adagio for strings, that incredible classical music piece, which I'm pretty sure it opens the movie, but it also tops and tails this record, played by the Vancouver Symphonic Orchestra. And rather amazing it does sound as well on vinyl. But you also get tunes from the likes of Smokey Robinson, the rather incredible Okie from Muskogee by Merle Haggard, The Doors, probably one of the greatest singles of the 60s, White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane, and many more. Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, Aretha, Respect, etc. And then you hit Groovin' by the Rascals, and then it reprises back into the Adagio for strings, but weaved through with some dialogue from the movie, particularly from Charlie Sheen. So it's a really, really interesting compilation. There you go. Never had that before. All right. This record, I've had so much positive feedback about the quality of the Japanese press for this record that I just, if I see it, I grab it. Or I told the folks in Shibuya, if you see it, stick it in the box. That is Duran Duran's Rio. An 80s classic. And that Japanese pressing is a belter. Okay, now this one's a little bit more unusual. I think I had this a really long time ago, but I've never had it with the Obi. And the Obi is rather beautiful. This is Brilliant Trees by David Sylvian. I believe, I'm not a massive fan of David Sylvian or Japan. I believe this is his debut album. Now, having sampled a few bits and pieces, I hear kind of jazz stylings and some really interesting musicians on this. Riichi Sakamoto from YMO, the Yellow Magic Orchestra from Japan, plays keyboards on several of these tracks, and you can really tell which ones because he plays amazing. There's at least side 2, what's the Red Guitar, the last track on side 1. Wow, it's rather wonderful. So, David Sylvian's 80s, Duran and Brilliant Trees, a little bit of revivalism for you. This is clearly the greatest title from tonight's list, and I'm going to start from the back. It's a little bit hard to read, but you can see it says, "For girls who grow," and then as you flip round, "Plump in the Night" by Caravan. This is their fifth record. Obviously come out of the Canterbury scene, that kind of folk record scene in the UK in the late 60s. But by this point, they have morphed into a proper prog rock band. Very groovy, really mellow vocals though, kind of layered harmonies on occasion, and some instrumentals. But there you go, on the original DRAM label as well. Caravans for girls who go plump in the night. Now from here on in, I have got classics, but I'm going to pull one forward just because it's a personal favorite. This is Beat by King Crimson, the Japanese first press. I did not know this record until a very dear friend introduced me to it. And now I love it very much. It's on this egg label. You can see the blue that matches the sleeve. This is that 80s King Crimson era where Robert Fripp was joined by notably Bob Bruford on drums and Adrian Belew on guitar and vocals. The first of their records together being Discipline, which was more highly regarded than Beat and features those kind of offbeat vocals and those the kind of the delving into frippertronics, but still with some absolute guitar fireworks. Beat is a little bit different. It's very melodic and in some respects more consumable than Discipline. But the two of them are definitely of a pair. You can hear that they were exploring similar ideas, and it's really up to the listener which they prefer between Beat and Discipline. And to my mind, it depends which one you hear first. For me, I heard Beat first. And so when I listen to Discipline, I think, well, it's kind of like Beat, but not as good. And I know that it works the other way around as well. But those Japanese presses were absolutely stunning. It's a really interesting band. Robert Fripp sounds pretty inspired, and Adrian Belew is a little bit of a warped genius. So there we go. King Crimson, Beat. All right, we have a run of classics now. These are records that could and should be on your shelves, and I'm just going to quickly run through them with a little bit of a view to how I feel about sound quality and the quality of the package. Now, this Led Zeppelin record, House of the Holy, I think that it is, in terms of the Japanese production of the sleeves, the highest quality. And this particular copy is absolutely stellar. It is like a brick. These hard cardboard gatefolds of this incredible artwork are really something. The inner with the lyrics is superb. But here's the thing. I feel like there are several Led Zeppelin records that in this era are in a revival. And mostly, I'm going to form a personal view on this, mostly because I can see, and I've had some friends over, and we think about playing a Led Zeppelin record, and we don't choose 1, 2, 3, or 4. We choose House of the Holy, or we choose Presence. And both have got incredible Japanese packages, but also both sound really fabulous on Japanese pressing. I would say Presence being the standout in terms of its heft and presence, forgive the pun, compared to other pressings. I think the reason Houses of the Holy stands out is because a lot of the songs had a production quality way beyond what had been in previous four records, bar maybe some of the choices made on Led Zeppelin 3. But when you think about House of the Holy, you're talking about songs like the Rain song, which is clearly their most orchestral and maybe heartfelt moment, maybe in their entire, maybe All of My Love kind of competes with that. But also you've got songs like Dancing Days and my personal favourite Led Zeppelin song, The Ocean, which is the closing track on House of the Holy. This record, it's in the argument for the greatest Led Zeppelin record. And again, with Led Zeppelin, I think there's a kind of bias to what you hear first. So a lot of people might hear 2 or 4 first, and that colours them. When House of the Holy is, I think, by quite some distance, their most proggish record. It's also their most drug influenced, I think. It's also got some horrible clangers on there in terms of how the record works. But it's also, I think, a singular record in their canon. And I think over time, a lot of people are realizing that it's their best. And I love that Japanese pressing. So, yeah, if you don't have a good copy, well worth checking it out. Another superb record, another incredible gatefold. This is Neil Young's nailed on classic. Everybody knows This Is Nowhere. The Japanese pressing again with the lyrics. Look, if you don't have Cinnamon Girl, Everybody Knows This Is Nowhere, Down by the River, Car Girl in the Sand, it's just wonderful. It's just a great record. I think this is the second press. It's the same as the one I have on my shelf. It's great. This is also great. The completely madly recorded Gaucho Steely Dan. By all accounts, I remember reading 111 musicians, 11 or 12 sound engineers, 390 days of recording. It's kind of bonkers. But then, I don't know, it's got its appeal. And the great thing about the Japanese pressing is that you don't have to go, you buy something like this, you don't have to go and get an audiophile pressing because they don't sound as good as those. And I've looked and I've listened, and those Japanese pressings are great. Finally, I've got a little bit of a Beatles, I guess, we all love the Beatles, and these Japanese presses. This is the famed 1976 run that was called Beat the Beatles Forever, and they repressed with new stampers all of the Beatles records with this fat green obi. In this particular case, I've got Sgt. Pepper and Let It Be, both just magical packages. They sound fantastic. And then the two most requested Beatles records in Short Cuts history, and it is not even close, are the Beatles Rarities and Revolver. They are the two that you folks out there ask me for the most, and there they both are. All right, so there you have an eclectic mix of classic rock and pop soundtrack. Rush, Grand Funk, King Crimson, Neil Young. You can't go wrong. Thank you so much if you made it this far. Hopefully something caught your eye. Like or subscribe or leave me a comment. Let me know you're there. And thank you so much if you've made it this far. As always, let me know if you'd like to see the price list, to be involved in the club. 2 folks from the club came round to my place on Saturday evening and we listened to a bunch of amazing music, and it was really lovely. You know who you are, so thank you for that. And have a great week, and see you all 9 o'clock on Wednesday. Bye.